You're listening to Revolution Radio, where it's 53 degrees, and I've got Joe Anunnaki on the phone. Hey, Joe, what would you like to hear?
We are observing your Earth.
I'm sorry, Joe, but we can't...
And we'd like to make...
sorry, Joe, but...
a contact with you.
Collision Course.
It is essential for our survival to use these powerful tools in the most humane and wise way. And the only way to guarantee that is not to shuffle the responsibility off to somebody else, but to make sure that every citizen understands science and technology to some extent.
Lighten up, Francis.
Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or a computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it. I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
This is the people's war. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning! Warning!
We gotta stop them! They're gonna kill us all! See how the trouble you've started? Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it.
Right, you tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Revolution Radio! All right, thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And yeah, we're going to get back to your host.
Good evening, everyone. It's Francis with the next episode of Collision Course right here on freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio. Clear skies, everyone. It's Francis, your host of Collision Course right here on freedomslips.com. Every Sunday from 8 to 10 p.m. You'll come to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com if you want to join me in the chat room. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's going on in our solar neighborhood. Not just that, though. We're on a mission to uncover and discover the truth about our place in the universe. Come listen for the interviews like the great ones we'll have this evening. Come listen to me when I'm telling you about astronomy and all the fabulous things that get me excited. Either way, we'll know more so we can decide what's real and what is not in the space outside our atmosphere. At the beginning of every show, I like to read that because it reminds us of what we're doing each week when we come to the airwaves. We had a very exciting week, and we're gonna get Yuta Notsu on the phone right away. But I just want to quickly, because we spent some wonderful time this week, me and my good friend Jorge, and we'll talk to him later, at the Lunar and Planetary Institute Solar System Exploration Public Engagement Institute. It was a fabulous time. We'll learn more about it, but we may have some people listening to us this evening. I want to say hello, Terry, Marcus, Alicia, Elaine, Jessica, Emily, Kendra, Matt, Maureen, Jorge, Maria, Gilberto, Ferguson, Leonard, Evan, Amy, Vincent, John, Reckon, Johnson, Jason, Vaughn, Victoria. If you're listening, thank you for joining me this evening on this episode of Collision Course. We're going to talk about super solar flares. And let's go ahead and add on our fabulous first guest here, Dr. Yuta Notsu. Gonna bring him right in, and we're gonna start talking. And I listened to him earlier on some of his presentations. And hello, Yuta. How are you?
Hello. Yeah. Good. How are you?
This is an audio, so you can't see me. There, that's fine. I hope that you're doing fine. Good evening, and how are you?
Yeah, great. Yeah, good.
Great. Is it Dr. Yuta Notsu? Yes?
Yes.
Very good.
From Boulder, Colorado, yes.
In Boulder, Colorado. You're a traveling researcher from Japan and are now in Boulder, Colorado, right?
Yes.
Well, I want to, for my listeners and myself, I want to first thank you for joining me this evening on my episode of Collision Course, where we're going to talk about super solar flares and all the things that you've been interested in and researching and creating papers about. We want to learn a little bit about. Now, I want to hold on for 1 second because I was guest on. I just want to see. I'm going to try to add one more person. If they're not available, no worries. Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
And everyone, I had spoken to Ben Davidson, but I wasn't able to. Is unavailable. Okay. So, Yuta, first off, let me go to Yuta. Everyone is working out of the University of Boulder, Colorado, in the Astrophysical and Planetary Sciences Department, the College of Arts and Sciences. His quote is, he's studying stellar magnetic activities, especially superflares, on solar type, G-type, stars, and cooler, K, M-type stars, using the various photometric and spectroscopic data from space and ground telescopes, i.e., Kepler, TESS, NICER, APO 3.5 meter. Through these observational studies, he tries to investigate how frequently superflares occur on the G, K, M-type stars, how large superflare events occur in stellar atmosphere, photosphere, chromosphere, corona, and how planets, exoplanets, are affected from these superflares. Yes. I think that covers it pretty good. Dr. Yuta, yes?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, so now the reason why I brought you to the show is because I've come across a number of your papers and your presentation, and I'm wondering if you can tell us something about your research, and let's get into a discussion about stars, and then maybe we'll eventually come into our own local solar system. Okay, can we do that, you think? And you could tell us about solar flares, about what you've learned so far.
Yeah, okay. First, I should start talk about the introduction about solar flares. Solar flares are the explosion on the surface of the sun, and it's a release of magnetic energy stored around the sunspots. And flare is a very big explosion, so sometimes the plasma ejections or strong radiation like X-ray affected our Earth's atmosphere or like satellites, our satellites or spacecraft, because it causes magnetic storms or strong radiation in the higher atmosphere of the Earth. But if we see the stars, some stars we already from 1950s we already know some stars show very strong flares, much larger than solar flares. It's called superflares. But until 2012, we already know superflares from young stars or very, very rapidly rotating young stars or binary stars. So it's totally different from the sun. So astronomers considered superflares cannot occur on the sun because the sun is very old and slowly rotating compared with young stars. But in 2009, Kepler space telescope was launched, and this is a very good space telescope founding for exoplanet observations, but with very good photometric precision. We can also investigate small flare-like sudden brightenings from the star. So we searched for the data of a lot of solar-type stars, like more than 80,000 stars. And then we detected some stars show some sun-like stars, some stars similar to the sun show very big flares corresponding to superflares. So then we are now starting to consider the possibility of superflares on the sun, because from Kepler data we have a lot of events from the star similar to the sun. So then we cannot deny the possibility of the superflares on the sun. So this is a quick introduction about the research.
Okay, so you've gotten a lot of information about stars through Kepler and their exoplanet search?
Yes.
And so as Kepler is looking for exoplanets through through transit dips or radial movement of the star, you've been able to witness solar flare activity. Let me ask you a question.
Yep.
Because this may help our listeners. Let's get into what is a sunspot, okay? Because eventually we're going to have to visit our sun again, and we're going to have to look at our sun in its current condition, which is minus a lot of sunspots, which is important in this discussion when we talk about a sun that doesn't present a lot of energy. So can you explain to us what a sunspot is, how it becomes a surface without a sunspot to a sunspot being present on the surface of a star?
Yeah, if we see the sun with naked eye, well, of course we cannot directly from naked eye, but if we see the sun in white light or optical light, there are some small black dots on the surface of the sun, and these are sunspots. But why these sunspots are the color is black? Because the temperature is lower than other parts of the surface. Then, why the sunspot is black, or what is a sunspot? Sunspot is a big magnetic field area, or strong magnetic field area. So the magnetic field is concentrated in a very small part, and then this part becomes a lower temperature. So the sunspot has a strong magnetic field. So then this can be related with a lot of energetic events, because this magnetic field is the energy source of the explosion event on the surface of the sun.
Okay, so basically what we have is we have a magnetic event, and we have different polarities of magnetism basically opening up an area
yes.
in that area of the sun's surface, creating a magnetically turbulent sunspot. Now, in some of my research about super solar flares, how does a sunspot get out of control? Okay, because if we're going to have a super solar flare, we're going to need a super-sized sunspot?
Yes, with the usual size of sunspots, the sun doesn't have a superflare. So the large sunspot or large spot is necessary. So because superflares need a lot of energy. So without these large sunspots, superflares cannot occur. Actually, superflare stellar data, we also find some evidence of large sunspots there.
Okay, so when we look at all the different stars, we have all different size stars. We have all different age stars.
Yes.
So some of the larger stars will have a prevalence to have large sunspots because they're a larger star. And they're a larger variable star, so they may present with more super solar flares, right? Those were the ones that you noticed more often, were large stars that were spinning fast with large solar.
We should be no. Actually, large star doesn't have a magnetic. Very large star, larger than the sun, doesn't show clear magnetic activity. Actually, because the large star and the small stars, the interior convection situation is a bit different. So actually, magnetic activity is seen in the star with as same size with the sun or smaller star or younger star.
Okay, but isn't there a type of star?
Yeah. So actually, much cooler star can tend to show more frequent activities, magnetic or larger magnetic activities. Cooler or younger, because young means the star is rapidly rotating. Rotation energy can be changed to magnetic energy.
Okay, so that younger, faster spinning star is a better environment to produce larger sunspots and more active sunspot regions.
Yes.
Okay, let's come then, because a lot of the research does, though, in conclusion, add some connection to our star and how our star does have the potential to produce super solar flares.
Yes.
And they state certain time frames of when those may occur within. And they also, what I found was really interesting, they eventually started talking about the Maunder minimums and the magnetic flux stored during these periods. So let's try to talk about our sun then, and look at our sun in today's situation. We've had a less activity. Is our sun capable of producing solar flares? What would that look like to us here? Would it be a run-up to a super solar flare? Would we know what was happening?
Yeah, the sun, maybe as you know, the sun has an 11-year activity cycle. So with a period of 11 years, the sun has an active phase and a very inactive phase. Actually, recently, the sun is very inactive phase in an 11-year cycle. But sometimes the sun has a more longer period of activity changes. For example, in 400 years ago, as you already mentioned, there is a Maunder minimum, so very inactive phase. So possibly there are possibility of very active phase, the different phase of the sun. So then the sun has a larger sunspots and superflares, but we don't know. We don't know how these cycles, like 11-year or much longer time scale changes occur. We don't know about the detailed mechanism. Of course, many researchers are working on, but still there is unknown things there. Yeah.
Do you feel that currently our sun is behaving atypical? Do you expect a solar cycle 25 that will meet expectations or not meet expectations, watching it here come out of solar cycle 24?
Yeah, compared with the previous two cycles, it's a bit strange. Yeah, but actually, we only know the history of 100 years or so. Our solar observation is just 100 years, but the sun's age is like 4.6 giga years, and we don't know about a much longer time scale. So in my understanding, it's a bit too early to. The current situation is very serious, or just long-term trend or not.
What? Well, then let me ask you then. What instigates, what motivates your research and your papers? Because if we were just to walk away from the discussion now, I don't have anything to hold on to that makes it very exciting to me. And super solar flares are just exciting in the sense of being exciting. What is it that in your research that keeps you looking, or are you on a regular diet of Kepler data and you'll just keep continuing to pay attention?
Yeah. Actually, there are two motivations. One is about the current sun. So we want to know whether there is a possibility of large superflares from the current sun, because our society is based on electricity or satellites, and also a lot of astronauts now in the space. But if large flares occur, even a bit larger flares once in 10 years can affect large effects, severe effects. So if superflares occur, this can cause severe damage on our society. So our motivation is to investigate how large is the possibility of superflares. This is the one motivation. And the second motivation is much more longer time scale motivation. As I already mentioned, youngsters have a much higher activity. I already mentioned. So I want to know how flare frequency changes over time from the birth of the Earth or birth of the solar system to the current sun. There are some theories. Young very active sun can affect much more effect on the. Young sun have a much more frequent superflares. So this can cause some chemical reactions into the Earth's atmosphere in a very old time, like 4 giga-year ago. So we want to know history of the Earth or the solar system. So this is the second motivation. So, yep.
So actually, we're still trying to maybe locate some ancient solar flare that occurred, and we're trying to find evidence of it here on Earth.
Yeah. Yep. Actually, please go ahead. Yep.
Okay, this was going to be my next question, because we'll go back to the exoplanets and the Kepler and the search for exoplanets, because you must be working closely with some who are researching exoplanets and trying to discover if the environment where they just found a new exoplanet is going to be a good one, considering the state of the star that it is nearby.
Yes.
Do you understand? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Can you tell us about that, maybe, how the work between what you're doing and then people looking for exoplanets and why they may not look at an exoplanet over another?
Yeah. Many astronomers are working on to find exoplanets, because by observing exoplanets, we can know the history or how our solar system evolved. And also, to know about the detail of the condition of the exoplanet, or we want to investigate the atmosphere of the exoplanet, we need to know about the stars also, because there are a lot of interactions from between the star and the planets, because some stars cause a lot of superflares. And if superflare occurs, strong UV light or strong particle high energy protons can affect the atmosphere of the exoplanet. Then exoplanet atmosphere can be affected, and then there are some possibility to changing the environment. So if we try to know how habitable or how good condition for life of each exoplanet, we want to know about the stars also. So this is a current relation between our flare study and exoplanet studies. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Have you paid any particular attention to our closest star system to Earth?
Yeah.
Proxima?
Yes, actually, Proxima is one of the well-known flare stars. So Proxima is a bit cooler than the Sun, or smaller than the Sun. And this Proxima Centauri causes a lot of flares compared with the Sun. And the planet, and also planet is much more closer to the star. So Proxima, the planet is much more affected from the flares. Actually, we are also studying some from spectroscopic and satellite data. We are also studying Proxima flares actually, recently.
And for the listeners who are listening, we'll just put this together. Proxima Centauri, Proxima Centauri B, we have our closest star system. So if humanity is trying to travel to the closest star to become interstellar, more likely than not, they'll be traveling toward Proxima Centauri B. We have a star orbiting around that star, as it's been described to me as a very rocky, fast-moving planet at this point. We don't have a full understanding of how many planets may be out there, but we just got some information from Yuta Notsu that this is a cooler star and that it is more active than our sun, which is very interesting because that tells me a little bit more about that system than I knew before. So let me ask that again. So what you're saying is that star is a little bit cooler and a little bit more active than our sun?
Yeah, a little bit much smaller than the sun and much more active than the sun. So a lot of superflares, yeah.
Well, let me ask you then, how habitable does that make the environment that we may one day try to go to? Is it a bad environment or an environment that is not inhabitable?
Maybe, yeah, actually our collaborators are calculating some particle flux on the surface of the Proxima in a particle calculation. And then maybe if we go inside the planet, maybe it is habitable from the particles from superflares. But the planet around, the environment around the planet is a very high, very large amount of high energy particles penetrating to the atmosphere. So maybe some part of the atmosphere is affected. A chemical reaction is also affected. And
Well, everyone, this is a little bit of extra added information because Yuta, I usually talk a little bit about Proxima Centauri because I do consider it to be one of the locations that humanity will try to get to first. So it's interesting to know that the environment will be a little bit more active than it is here with our own sun. Is this true or false? As the sun is not true or false, as the sun is not as active, okay, because we have, and you've said this, that when the sun is more active, it is more likely to produce a solar flare. But let's go back to if the sun is not very active. Is there a scenario where a star is not active and then all of a sudden it brews up a very magnetic large sunspot and turns into a super solar flare? So from nothing to something very big. Is that possible?
So from nothing means.
So a disk, a star disk with no sunspots, no sunspots, low activity, even low coronal holes, just a very stable sun surface with no sunspots. Can it build up magnetic flux during this period and just come with an unexpected super solar flare?
No. Without sunspots, maybe there are no flares, no superflares. So we don't need to care about superflares without large sunspots. Actually, all active superflare stars from the Kepler data or other data show evidence of star spots.
Okay, I'm looking at one of the papers that you had part of, and I'm at the conclusion, and I'm just going to read this. We have examined various possibilities relating to whether our sun can produce superflares, i.e., whether our sun can generate big sunspot that can lead to occurrences of superflares, using an order of magnitude estimate of magnetic flux generation due to typical dynamo magnetisms. Although the dynamo mechanism itself has not yet been established, our calculations reveal that it may be possible to generate a big sunspot that can lead to a 10 to the 34 power ERG superflare within one solar cycle period. That's the question. What is one solar cycle period? The 11-year cycle?
Yeah. 11 years, yes.
Okay, so everyone, basically what I read in those three sentences is, yes, a sun like ours could produce a super solar flare. But see, I was asking right before, well, can we go from nothing to something? And I'm really, I'm really not there, because the paper's saying that these can occur, but a lot of times they'll take that whole sun cycle to occur. Maybe you'll have one in the whole cycle. Now, Yuta, when you look at our sun and how it is currently, and you're an expert about solar information, are we a normal sun situation? Should we be concerned about super solar flares? Is there something more important that we should be paying attention to when it comes to space weather? Where are you? Where are you with our sun? You comfortable? Is there anything interesting?
Yeah, maybe currently we are no worry about the superflares like tomorrow or next week. So maybe in the case of activity, maybe in a very active phase superflare occur. And also maybe I should mention about the long-term activity changes by the sun, or long-term history evidence of the solar activity. Can I talk about this? Maybe this is related with our message about superflares. Actually, we studied from stellar data, but also other researchers are working on the possibility of superflares from the other data, like tree links or ice core of the in Antarctica, because sometimes if the very large flare occurs, very strong particles can cause carbon-14. It's carbon-14 is only produced when the strong particles penetrate into the atmosphere. Then, for example, using very old trees in Europe and also in Japan, some researchers have found some strong peaks of carbon-14 amount. Like, for example, in 774 and also 993, and also before or around more than 1,000 years old. At least there are 3 events of strong peak of carbon-14. And recently, there are some discussions about these events are caused by large flares on the sun in the timescale 1,000 years. And also, some researchers are working on historical documents or auroral drawings, visible auroral drawings in a 1,000-year timescale from European old documents and also Chinese old documents. And actually, there are a lot of reports of the very active events, larger than the event we experienced in recent 100 years. So at least we don't know about very large superflares occur on the sun or not. But at least we can experience flares larger than the flares we experienced recent 100 years. So in 1,000-year time scale, there are much, at least large superflares or small superflares can occur on the sun. Maybe there is evidence we've already experienced in recent 2,000 years. So then we should be careful about superflares combined with stellar data.
Here I am. Because we do, honestly, we have some records, though technological records only go back 100 or so years, and you're probably talking about the Carrington event as one of the major ones in somewhat near industrial revolution age. But now we go back to the Eastern civilizations, the Chinese astronomers, and you're saying that there are some large flares recorded in some of the astronomical charts of ancient astronomers, and I totally agree with that. So here's my next question. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about solar flares, and let's look at a planet. Doesn't have to be this planet, but just let's look at another planet with an atmosphere and life on its surface. And it's about the same distance away, one astronomical unit away from its star. Its star is about the same as ours, same age, same size. That star produces over a period of, let's say it takes 10 days, 14 days to build up, and it produces a solar flare directed at the habitable planet. Okay, a super solar flare, like what we're talking about. What will happen after it reaches the habitable planet? Okay, will you help us understand what kind of effect? Now, we understand what the Carrington effect was. We had our technological telegraph wires, buildings caught fire, but that was that technology. But I want to get to like atmospheres. What will happen to a habitable planet with an atmosphere if a super solar flare comes and hits it a direct hit?
Maybe it is one researcher from NASA Goddard published one paper after finding superflares, published in Nature Geophysics in 2016. Based on this research, there is a possibility the chemical reaction occurred in the atmosphere. More specifically, the example, the nitrogen oxide and also HCN. It's related with causing for producing RNA or DNA. Is some amount of this chemical can be produced because of a strong proton flux if superflares occur frequently. So then, and also more importantly, ozone. Ozone is also in the Earth's atmosphere. Ozone is destroyed by the strong particles. So these some chemicals are produced. Some chemical related with life can be produced. Also, some particles related with life can be destroyed, like ozone is destroyed. So the atmosphere environment can be changed from the atmosphere of the current Earth to some amount. Of course, one flare causes very little changes, but if the superflares occurs like once every day or once every week, then the atmosphere changes can be larger. So this is a quick answer about this.
So did I just hear that at the end, that if you have frequent solar flares, the consequences could be greater?
Yeah, of course, the current level of the solar flare, the effect is too small to detect it. But for example, in a very young age, when super flare occurs every day, then the changes are large.
Okay, let's see. We're coming up on 8:38 p.m. in New York City. It's 7:38 p.m. where I am here outside of Houston, Texas. Where are you, Yuta? Are you in Colorado?
Yes, Colorado, in a very snowing place now.
It's 6:38 p.m. in Colorado?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, we've been discussing, everyone, super solar flares with Yuta Notsu from Boulder, Colorado area, a traveling researcher out of Japan. He has written and been a part of a number of papers regarding super solar flares. He has been researching information that's been coming out of the Kepler telescope and a number of other telescopes in regards to exoplanet research. Who are you working with right now? Do you have a collaborator or a colleague that you work with on these topics?
Yes, I have collaborated with some researchers from Japan, and also we are here in Boulder. I'm collaborating with Dr. Adam Kowalski in University of Colorado, Boulder, and he's an expert of flare observations here. And actually, in Boulder, there are many solar and stellar flare researchers here, and also exoplanet researcher, and we are collaborating with them.
I just had an opportunity the other day to interview Dr. Jesse Christensen, who is the repository for all the exoplanet information. So that's kind of interesting. All our topics seem to be centered around exoplanets and the environments around exoplanets. But solar flares were particularly interesting to me, Yuta, because of the potential of our own sun. Now, we haven't seen a solar flare activity since the Carrington event of 1890 that really affected any type of industrial technology. So we are, though, as a civilization, we have created a vulnerability with our technology and these types of events that we really can't escape from. And let me ask you a question, and I just thought of it, and you may not have an answer. Is there anything better that we can do to help protect our technology from a super solar flare event, or is it just inevitable that if one of these events occur, that we'll just be left to rebuild afterwards?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, maybe there are many ways to protect us. Especially electricity can be strong. Even usual flares sometimes affect the electricity system. So we need to have a spares of the system, and also and aircraft or space telescopes can be affected from the strong flares because telecommunications, or radio communications, or magnetic storm can affect radio communications. So we need to have a backup system, and also sometimes we should have some system like safe mode to prevent the effects. And also the prediction and preparation is very important, I think. Yeah.
So I guess our prediction, if we wanted to have a prediction, we would just look at our cyclical 11-year predictions.
Yeah.
And in those predictions, we have an idea of what to expect as far as sunspot activity, and then we can look at that and decide whether it's going to be highly, active or not. And I know as of right now, solar cycle 25 is going to be an average solar cycle, maybe a little bit less than average from that. So we may not have to worry about super solar flares from our sun, but we should be glad that there are scientists like Dr. Yuta Notsu researching these events so that they may be able to, science may be able to come up with a way, just like he said right now, come up with a secondary solution, a secondary system that can help protect humanity's technological services in the event that a super solar flare or a very energetic normal type flare comes in and wants to enter into the Earth's atmosphere. Yuta, I'm going to end the interview right now. I wanted to thank you so much, and I want to thank you so much for joining me this evening. I know that this topic is very kind of focused, so we really don't have too much area to go one way or the next, so we had to really stay focused on super solar flares. The information is important. I want the listeners to know that there is scientists looking at these situations. Unfortunately, we weren't unable to connect with Ben, but we're going to reach back out with Ben, and we're going to get a report from Ben. And then, Yuta, if there's anything you need from me, feel free to reach out to me and contact me. And if there is a super solar flare happens, I may email you back and ask for you to come back on the show. Is that all right?
Yep. Of course, yep.
Okay. I wanted to tell you that the listeners in the chat room have been paying attention, and they want to say thank you very much for joining us this evening and sharing your information with us, and we hope to talk with you again soon. Thank you, Dr. Yuta.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, everyone, that was a great discussion about super solar flares with Dr. Yuta Notsu. He's in Boulder, Colorado, a traveling researcher out of Japan. He's written a number of articles about super solar flares. If there is anything, if you had a hard time understanding him, he did have a distinct accent. I know that it got easier to understand him the longer that we spoke with him. I hope that you got a good bit of information about what he's interested in, what he's doing, and how hopefully we can make a connection with, maybe he'll give us some information one day that we can use to help protect our infrastructure, technology, wiring system. Give us a warning about anything super. Because, listen, when I was doing the research in the papers, if there was anything that was said, is that the potential is there. Let's not forget that even though that there are some younger, cooler stars that have more busy surfaces and are more likely to produce a super solar flare in their localized environment, it has been found that stars like ours, older, more stable stars, yet variable, can also produce these super solar flares on occurrences of 1,000 years, give or take. We've been a while already. Yuta brought up information from some ancient historical observations from the Chinese that speak of different solar flare events. Speaking about the Carrington event of the early, just before the beginning of the 20th century. It's important for us to not forget that we learned something today about our closest neighbor, Proxima Centauri, and the star system, Proxima Centauri b. Proxima Centauri b would be the star that humanity may look towards going to first. New light sail technology, the Starshot Breakthrough Initiative, Avi Loeb's participation in that initiative will one day bring a CubeSat satellite and a solar sail craft moving toward our closest star system, Alpha Centauri, with the potential of reaching up to 20% the speed of light to achieve interstellar status. It will be happening. It will be occurring. But it was interesting to know, because I did not know at all, that star system that we're so interested in happens to be quite the active system, according to Dr. Yuta Notsu. And that if we wanted to go to that star system, we may have to dig into the planet we want to go to. That doesn't sound like the place I want to go to. So we'll have to look and see and keep listening to more information about this star system. Because we will become interstellar one day. And because we will enlighten ourselves even more, just like I enlightened myself this week, myself and my friend Jorge, who we'll talk to on the other side of the hour. Clear skies, everyone. It's Francis, your host of Collision Course, right here on FreedomSlips.com Revolution Radio, the world's #1 listener-supported radio station. If you're listening to me right now and you're not on FreedomSlips.com or in the chat room, I recommend you join me right now. FreedomSlips.com Revolution Radio's chat room has the links, has the hosts, has the information you might like to have as you're listening to a Collision Course on Revolution Radio. Let's not forget also that Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com is the world's #1 listener-supported radio station. When you visit FreedomSlips.com, there are ways that you can donate to us today to get and hear the hosts of your choice, to get and hear the content that you choose to listen to get to hear all of that news unobstructed from the researchers' mouths themselves. No bias, only what the host wants to bring to you. And in this instance, and this host, Francis Walsh of Collision Course, you get outer space. And you get to hear about all cool outer space things. And it's really cool because it's just a calm, cool, collective show. And outer space is a great thing to listen to because we need to know more about it, because one day outer space may bring to our dinner table something that we need to know about instantly. And again, if you're listening to me and you're not on FreedomSlips.com, please visit me in the chat room. Share the links that I share. Say hello. Hey, guess what time it is? It's book time. A. E. Van Vogt, Destination Universe, ! Fantastic Adventures in Time and Space by the author of Away and Beyond and Mission to the Stars. All the best of Van Vogt. Destination Universe. It's the book of the week. The sci-fi vintage cover art is galactic and maybe alien at the same time. I know that a lot of you have received a book of your own. I'm glad that you received it. I hope you're enjoying it. I'm going to do this. Jersey Dolphins, you need to reach out to me. You already have a book coming. Please. Thank you for joining us this evening. I love you. Me, I hope you're doing fine. Jimmy Green, Jimmy Jean. I saw Green. I'm sorry, Jimmy Jean. Jimmy Jean. Me and Comet and Basement 5 are all here with Pat Rabbit and Jersey Dolphins and Mitchell and Lady Horse. Idaho guys here too. Barbara Jansen was here. I want to give away a book to somebody, but the best thing for me to do is just ask who hasn't received a book. Jersey, I see. Thank you. I know you know. I know you know, and now I see you will. So please do. I left the email address over on YouTube in the comment. You go over there, you can see it. Anyone here who's in the chat room right now, has anyone not received a book from me? Anyone in the chat room not received a book from me? Anyone in the chat room not received a book from me? If you put your name up there, I'm going to make it possible so you can receive A.E. Van Vogt's Destination Universe, because I want everybody to get a chance to get one of these cool books. Come in a plastic case. Some of them are signed with a card in them. Some of them are not. The later versions are. The later versions of the giveaway books include a signed jacket, star, and business card from your host, Francis Walsh of Collision Course, right here on FreedomSlips.com. I'm going to go back and do this one more time in case they're listening. We were at the Lunar and Planetary Institute Solar System Exploration Public Engagement Institute 2-day gathering, one day at the Lunar Planetary Institute building, the next day at Space Center Houston. We're going to talk all about that in the second hour, but I want to go ahead and shout these names out again. All these wonderful people that we met on our two-day Solar System Ambassadors Institute. Terry, Marcus, Alicia, Elaine, Jessica, Emily, Kendra, Matt, Maureen, Jorge, Maria, Gilberto, Ferguson, Leonard, Evan, Amy, Vincent, John, Rican, Jason, Vaughn, and Victoria. We are very, very, very happy to meet you all this week during that event. One day at the Lunar Planetary Institute, one day at Space Center Houston. Jorge and I are going to rehash all the great events and all the great things that we learned and all the cool things that we have to bring to the Star Show, February Star Show here, Cypress, Texas, February 20th, if the weather permits, 4:30 to 9 p.m. This gathering at the Lunar and Planetary Institute was a great event for educators. What they did is they taught educators how to educate others about astronomy, because that's what we're doing. With this radio show, we hope to educate you. We hope to entertain you, but at the same time, the information that's coming out is scientific. That everyone should understand science and technology to some degree, just as Carl Sagan says, just like our OG lead-in says, that everyone should know and understand science and technology to some degree. And it is the responsibility, I feel, to someone like myself who is involved on multiple levels of astronomy to bring this information back to you. We have the observatory in Kerrville. Bob and Debbie, we love you very much. We're expecting some new photos out of Cosmic Obsession Observatory soon. We brought a number of images to the event, and they were received very well. I want everybody right now to remember that we have the great website, http://nightskiesnetwork.com, where you can go and witness live astronomers' telescope feeds live online. So, we're happy that you're with us. We're going to bring in the second hour Jorge Garcia up. He's actually our wingman, our shotgun guy here in Houston. We'll tell you all about what's going on and how we're going to make this year 2020 very, very exciting, and one that we're just going to learn so much, and we're going to bring it back to the show. We're going to bring it back to the people. We're going to bring it back to social media. I'm going to leave one link on here. It is the Facebook page for the radio show. It's facebook.com /collision course 321. I really would like for you to join over there or come over there and like the page. We have all our information, all our links, everything that's going to come up to this show, we have over there on that page. Right now, it's 8:56 p.m. in New York City. It is 7:56 p.m. where I am right now. FreedomSips.com. If you're not on FreedomSips.com, hop on over. Click on the donate button today. Support the world's #1 listener-supported radio station, champion of free speech. They gave me my voice for Collision Course. We'll be right back.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
Hello, my name is Mr. Rowe. I am the host of Reality Extraction on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I utilize logic, intellect, and magic to methodically atomize, vivisect, analyze, examine, study, scrutinize, and extract an essence of reality from a fog of illusion and confusion. You can find me on Studio B every Thursday at 1700 hours Pacific Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. No topic taboo, no subject too strange. I strive to take a neutral standpoint during the dissection of the topic at hand. That's Reality Extraction with Mr. Rowe on Revolution Radio.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Transcending time and space, let us take you to the place inside your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenton Perspective with our great host, Lorian Fenton. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with all of her guest secrets to the future. That's the Fenton Perspective every Monday evening right here from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Revolution Radio. Oh, and you don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Syndicalist commune. We take it in turns to act as a sort of executive officer for the week. Yes. But all the decisions of that officer have to be ratified at a special bi-weekly meeting. Yes, I see. By a civil majority in the case of purely internal affairs. Be quiet. But by a 2/3 majority in the case of more... Be quiet. I order you to be quiet. Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left. Yes, I have. Look. It's just a flesh wound.
I don't believe I've seen such a display of courage, skill, nerve, grace, and stupidity.
I'll do you for that. Oh, what? Come here. What are you going to do, bleed on me? I'm invincible. You're a loony. The Black Knight always triumphs.
Roundtable Live, Monday through Friday, 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Bring your mind, bring your ideas, bring your voice. King Arthur had nothing on us. Here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. All right, thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Francis and Collision Course. Clear skies, everyone. It's Francis, your host of Collision Course, right here on freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio. Every Sunday from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, you'll come here, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's going on in our solar neighborhood. Not just that, though. We're on a mission to uncover and discover the truth about our place in the universe. Come listen for the interviews. Come listen to me. Either way, we'll know more so we can decide what's real and what is not in the space outside our atmosphere. Busy. Me, Jersey Dolphins, email me, you two. You two, email me so I can send you, send you the books that I want to send you. If not, I understand. If there are some reasons why we can't connect, that's okay too. But know that if you ever want to reach out to me, that I have a book just for you, Jersey. Jersey Dolphins, thank you so much for coming back and enjoying the show each week with me and over on YouTube at The Perfect Minds. Basement 5, hey, from New Hampshire, Francis. Hey, Basement 5 from outside of Houston. We're going to go ahead and call up our new shotgun. Jorge Garcia. Jorge Garcia. We're going to add him to the call. Going to find out what's going on. Find out what's been up. Find out what's been up with him. What's up? Everybody, welcome. I want to introduce to you for the first time on Collision Courses my new shotgun guy, Jorge Garcia, all the way from where he is located in his studio, probably about 50 miles from me, which in Texas terms really isn't that far. So he's a local guy. And welcome Jorge Garcia to the show, everybody.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, man, what's up?
Not much, man, not much. I'm glad to be on.
Welcome to your first episode of Collision Course, right here with your host, Francis Walsh, the guy you know already. We welcome you into the fold. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. Listen. Let's get right to it, okay? People listening, dude, probably didn't have a week like we had this week, right?
Yeah, man, it was a lot to take in.
Let's see, where do we want to go? Let's go all the way back to, hey everyone, from March 16th to 20th, here outside of Houston in the Woodlands, Texas, is the 2020 Lunar and Planetary Science Conference. We'll start there because I had been going to that conference now for 5 years in a row. I gained my access to the conference, which you have to pay money to go, for free, acting as a journalist. And I think that's where we started, right, Jorge? And I said, Jorge, why don't you get connected with this conference that's going on, right?
Yes, yeah.
Right, and then, since then, I discovered, I discovered the Lunar and Planetary Institute's Educators Institute, which was a 2-day event. And I had told myself that I wasn't going to go to the second day. Now, I suppose we should go all the way back to, it's like, well, how do you even know Jorge? Jorge and his family joined us at our first annual Star Show here by my house in Cypress, Texas. And Jorge and I have been friends on Facebook for a long time, right, Jorge? I mean, for a while.
Long time. Yeah, about 10 years, 10 years more. Yeah.
Right? And we started up the show again, and we started to get really active. I started to get really active again. Started putting on this shows. You know, whenever I do, I talk to my friends on Facebook. You know, you sometimes you question how committed they are to something. It's always it's good to relate with other people about some things, but you're never always quite sure how committed they are to those things. So I really liked Jorge because he liked a lot of stuff that I liked. He would share a lot of my posts that I would share. And then when it got down to having the Star Show, he was really interested. And he said, well, I'm going to come out. And I said, okay, come on out. And to be honest with you, I wasn't quite sure if you were going to come out or not. And he sure did. He showed up. A lot of people showed up, and there's going to be even more people this coming month on February 20th here in Cypress, Texas, the second star show of the year 2020, February 20th, 2020. I expect those 100 families to show up. Maybe we didn't get 100 families on the first one, but I really do expect. We got a half-page ad in the newsletter. I really do expect 100 families to show up. So 200 people coming out to see what's going on in the night sky. On our first show, I turns around and there's Jorge and his family, his beautiful family is there. And at that moment, I knew that Jorge was going to be the guy that would help me in this area. Everybody needs some help sometimes in their locale when they're trying to do big things to get support, to get help. And Jorge was the guy. And so we got hooked up with the Lunar and Planetary Institute conference. That's coming up in March. And then I got connected with this event that just happened this week. And I had initially told Jorge, hey, Jorge, I can't do the second day. Will you do the second day? And Jorge said, yes, I'm going to do the second day. Yes. And we got that going. And then he said, well, do you want me to come the first day? And that was the day I was going anyways. I said, well, yeah, if you want to come on. And we ended up doing the day. And then when we did the first day, I said, well, I can't miss the second day. So we ended up doing these 2 days together. And did you have a good time at these events, Jorge?
Man, I had an amazing time. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah, like meeting all these scientists and doctors and it was a lot to take in that day. And then the second day was a little more cool, but man, being in that room with those people, it's intimidating.
Well, and for folks who haven't done this, basically what we're doing is we're flying by the seat of our pants. Okay. I'm not a scientist and I'm not educated as a scientist and I don't have a degree in science. I have a degree in political science. But we know that politics are anything but a science these days. But so just like we did with the conference, and I'm saying this for the listeners, because listen, what I want to impress upon you as a listener, and something like astronomy, something like science, something like being an educator, it's all kind of natural for anybody. Anybody like me, like Jorge, like you, like the listeners. I know that if I was to tell you, the listener, something interesting or something cool, you would probably take it to your friend and show them that something that was interesting is something that was cool, right? And that makes you an educator. And so we do that. We do that every week when we come on air and we talk to the listeners about whatever it may be today. Super solar flares. I hope that the listeners were able to retrieve something out of the discussion. But there are a couple of key points that I got from the discussion, which is good enough, because sometimes all you can really hope for is one or two things from a discussion. Grab it, put it in your pocket, walk away, and move on to the next thing, right? Just like these events. So I think Jorge was I don't know, because when I do these things, I expect to be I expect to get accepted, and I expect to go in there and be able to perform the way someone should perform, and Jorge was doing the performance of his life at that moment, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it was beautiful, man. It was very welcoming. Everyone was real down to earth. It wasn't like, anything out of place or anything like that. It was great.
All right, let me ask you, what did they want to do? Let's just, rather than, what did they want to do? Why did we go?
Well, they wanted the news out there. Everything they've learned, everything they've been learning the past few years of their research, they want it out. They want the information out there that might not be out there yet. Some people aren't onto these things and up to date with a lot of stuff. And, well, I guess that's where we kind of came into play.
Yeah, this is where we come into play. And I think, like we might have described during the event, honestly, it's, I'm sorry. Hey, Mad Jax, it may be the people like us, me and Jorge, who are actually reaching the most people between the radio show and the Facebook and the social media and then the live star shows. And the observatory and the pictures and all that other stuff that goes on, we may be sitting in that room, be in a position that we're going to reach the most people. So we can't give ourselves the knockdown without first boosting ourselves up into a place like we were this week at the Lunar and Planetary Institute's Solar System Institute. And that institute was designed to give educators like us tools, tips, new information, old information, games, hands-on activities. It's good. The star shows are going to be really cool when I roll out all the things that they gave us from this 2-day event. I mean, I can't tell everybody how long it's going to take to go through all the cool information that was given to us in 2 days. In 2 days, they went over maybe 5% of all the information they gave to us in a folder. And then during the presentations, all the websites that we have access to, I found out during the 2 days that we have, as citizen scientists, some really serious access now after sending 2 people into these events. Those 2 people come out. I mean, we've really got a lot of content. And I don't know how far you've gone through the content, Jorge, but I mean, I know that when they're talking about some of the interactive maps and flyby software websites, I mean, I haven't even got there yet.
Yeah, no, I haven't got on any of those sites yet. I've just been honestly researching in further detail everything they were talking to us about. But they gave us a bunch of activities to teach these kids, like a whole lot of activities, and they all, like, it was an open thing. So like any one that was presented to us was open for any ideas. And, it was great watching people with their inputs and just seeing how well everyone works together in the science community.
There was a lot of stuff going on this week for the Lunar and Planetary Institute. They have this seat crew. So there are a bunch of different things. There are solar system ambassadors. There are seat crew educators. And this week was really dedicated to educating astronomy education. And at the end of the week, there was a 3-day banquet and all get together. And I've seen some of we went to 2 days of educator classes. There was people that were going, that went to the classes that kept going for 3 more days. It was a full week of astronomy, and then they were getting their jackets for being volunteers for the educators crew and all sorts of stuff. So it was amazing how much we learned information-wise. It's amazing how much we know we can do more with other programs and other like gatherings and institutes, and they're constantly, and there's some things that we can try to attempt to get scholarships from. So basically what we did this week is we opened up a real big window. I mean, that's how I saw it. I was like, before we didn't go, we didn't know what was there. We had never interacted on that level. Now we go. I've sent emails to everyone. We did a lot of good coverage. I have a window now and some access that we're going to expand on, besides all the cool hands-on activities that we're going to bring to the star shows, and we'll make videos of those. So if you're wondering, well, that'd be great if we could see them. You'll be able to see them through the videos. We are uploading videos onto the old Collision Course page. That's YouTube/The Perfect Minds. That's the original one. That's the one. We don't make money on YouTube because YouTube said, no, 10 years ago. And so it's for you. It's for the 3,000 subscribers who had been there for 9 years waiting for somebody to post a video. Your videos are now on their way up. And we can thank someone like Jersey Dolphins who motivates me to continue doing that because they're there, and I know that they're there getting the updates of videos. We have a new gathering that we're going to be going to. What are we doing next as far as gatherings go, Jorge?
Well, let's see. We have one for, let's see, what is this?
Oh, the show's coming for Mad Jax. Mad Jax finally figured out how to get on here and have the show coming through the TV. Now that's cool. Hey, Mad Jax.
22nd. February 22nd.
February 22nd, we're going to Rice University.
Yep, Owls in Space Symposium.
Owls in Space Symposium. Who's going to be talking?
Who is going to be talking? Let me see.
The director of NASA Space Center Houston.
I'm sorry, man. I'm looking for this.
I think it is the director of the NASA Space Center Houston. And if it is, I believe it is. I think that's cool. So first off, Rice, we all know Rice is one of the Southern Ivy League school here. It's outside of Houston. They're going to have the Owls. That is their mascot, are the Owls, but they have Owls in Space or something. So they have a certain group of students whose goal it is to present this symposium. What was the name of the symposium again? I don't have it in front of me, so you have to help me.
Let's see. It says on Saturday, February 22nd, 2020, in Duncan Hall, SEDS Rice is hosting the second Owls in Space Symposium with NASA Johnson Space Center Director Mark Geyer as our keynote speaker. The symposium is hosted by students for students to engage with space, culture, and industry. The symposium supports SEDS Rice's purpose to empower undergraduate and graduate students to explore and engage in space disciplines both at Rice and abroad.
And besides students, they actually have more. You can be more than a student. And at first I was telling Jorge, it was funny because Jorge was sending me pictures of the different choices of what you could be to go to this thing. And I swear, Jorge, it only showed students. And
I saw that until I scrolled down. I was like, oh no.
I told Jorge, I said, okay, so where are you a student? Where are you a student? Because on these things, we have to be, we're going to have to stand up for who we say we are, at least. All right. So if we just say that we're journalists for Cosmic Obsession Kerrville or Collision Course or whatever, it's okay. They can call us out. We're going to say exactly what we are because that's what we are. Yep. But what I saw for choices, there were students, and I was asking Jorge, I said, well, where are we as student? Because, I really don't want to go in and say I'm a student of someplace because I'm not. But then there was further down, there was journalism or media and then other. And we are now public educators. Our position, and yes, you say, well, what did you give yourself that role, Francis? Did you just give yourself that role? You and Jorge, you just get to become public educators? Listen, if you come along with us for a month, you're going to get to the next month and you're going to say you're a public educator. Yeah. Because you're going to have talked to a lot of people that are in the public. You are going to have to speak in front of the public. You're going to have to do the duty of servicing the public as well. Like with, we're getting our new telescope delivered tomorrow, Jorge.
Oh, nice.
The other telescope's going on its way to Roland Tuesday. I've got the old telescope in the box. It's not an old one. It's a brand new one that I've just worked out. I need the kinks, put it in the box. It's going to Roland. It's going to our teacher in Cameroon, Africa. Actually, this telescope that I'm sending to Cameroon, Africa is going to go first to Maryland and then go into a car, and the car is going to go into a container, and then the container is going to go onto a ship, and the ship's going to go on the ocean, and it's going to sail across the ocean, that's going to land in a port in Cameroon, I pray to God. I really believe it's going to happen, though.
I'm pretty sure it is.
This is why. Because the universe has been so kind. The universe has been very giving. It's been very kind to me. It's been very allowing. It really hasn't thrown up any major roadblocks. It's thrown up challenges, but those are just basic human challenges, ego, the things that people have to deal with if you let yourself struggle, right? If you don't say, okay, I want to be honest, okay? Just say if you got some feeling, forget about the feeling, just be honest, move on. So as far as everything that's going on here, which is great, you get to come to Collision Course every 2 weeks and hear about honest space news. You get to hear from public educators. And in fact, well, let's talk a little bit about this, because let me not forget that I was at times amazed at what I was being told and what I was seeing in some of these presentations. Were you not amazed a couple of times, Jorge?
Oh yeah.
Right. And I guess I'm going to expand. I'll just expand. And I was amazed by what I was able to see of Mars. Okay. I've seen Mars. I'll explain it. I've seen Mars. I have a wonderful astrophotographer on Facebook named Damien Peach. Yes, it's Damien Peach. He takes fabulous planetary images, and he's taken fabulous planetary images of Mars. And you can see the white on the top of the Mars. You can see its nice red color, beautiful, clear. But this week, at the 2-day event, with the orbiter that's gone around Mars, I was able to see the riverbeds, and where the rivers flew into the ocean that was on the northern part of Mars. And they did this through palettes of color. So the different color represented either a temperature or a topographical feature, and they layer over each other. And what's amazing that I could tell you exactly where to go to look at all the stuff that amazed me, because all the stuff that they showed that amazed me, they gave me access to. And the only reason why you don't have access as the listeners, because I haven't put it together to give it to you yet. But everything they showed us, and we talked a lot about water. Don't let anybody fool you about water. Water's everywhere. There's water on the moon. There's water on the moon. There's water on Mars. There was a lot of water on Mars, and the information that they showed us where the water ran, where the water
drinkable water,
potable water, accessible water.
Sir. Ran into a couple problems with that on how they're going to extract that water.
Right. Are they going to extract water? Are they going to extract oxygen? And they've got oxygen in moon soil. They've got oxygen and water in moon soil. It depends, I guess, on just what you want and the process that you put to it to get what you want out of it. But we also learned that water was located in different areas on these places, right? We had a subsurface water. Well, let's ask this question. We'll just shoot this out there. One of the discussions was how much usable water is there on Earth? Right? And we had a long discussion about that. Yeah. And I think first off, we got to the understanding that the Earth was 71% water. Okay, so let's think of a cup of water, a clear glass cup of water, measuring cup of water, like we all use to bake a cake, and we're going to fill it up 71%. And if I'm doing this wrong, Jorge, well, oops.
No, you're right.
We're going to work 71%. Okay, everyone. So we got a clear measuring cup of water that's filled 71%. Now, when we talked about water, we talked about accessible water. Water that was potable, water that we could drink, water that was good for life. Okay, so we have to think about all the water that's locked up in ice that's really not accessible to us. We have to think about all the water that is interbled with chemicals and and et cetera, et cetera. So what basically what I'm doing, and you can do in your head as well, because you could just run through the different scenarios, all the different things that makes our water unusable for life. Frozen up, chemicals, inaccessible, salt. I was smart to say, salination units, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, but if we just want to look at water, let's just take away technology. Let's just say a super solar flare went off, and all we were left with was water. We're going to look for just the best water in a match that we can cook with, and hopefully we'll be able to live on it. But let's get cut to the chase. Out of that 71% of a cup, there was 7 drops of water left. And that 7 drops of water represents the usable water here on the planet. And so it correlates to how much usable water is on the moon, how much usable water is on Mars, how much usable water. And what I found interesting is the farther we got out, we get to Jupiter and Saturn, Saturn's rings, that's where it's holding its water. And then some of these planets, they have subterranean water, they have surface water, they have water in different ways. So we learned a lot about water. But what that told me, and the reason why I'm telling all of you, is that they spent a whole lot of time talking about water, didn't they, Jorge?
Yeah, they did.
They did. They spent a lot of time talking about water. And we don't get that trickle-down effect in our regular newsday news. We hear about the space missions. We hear about the astronauts. We hear about the International Space Station. We hear about SpaceX. We hear about satellites. We hear about Cassini. We hear about Voyagers, the Voyager spacecraft. But we're not getting this water news back. We're not getting this water news back. Now, I guess it's kind of localized because there are moons, I think it's Enceladus, or Europa. I think Europa. We have some moons of the planets. I think Europa, I don't know. I don't want to get it wrong. But one of the moons has enormous volcanoes that are ejecting liquid materials out into space constantly and non-constantly. So I want everybody to take away from what I just said is that there's a lot of water in the solar system. Science is intently interested in figuring out how to utilize that, and in fact that they are organizing their proposals, their plans, and their missions in ways that will give them more knowledge about where the usable, most accessible water is in our solar system. Okay.
Sound like the plan, pretty much. Yeah, they were talking. Yeah, that was pretty much the plan. Looking for usable water on different planets.
And then our next coverage was with Dr. Vincent Hugh, and we got a whole new look at Jupiter. I mean, I don't know how I even say it. If you were going to go to a football game, I guess it's dependent on the person, but your best seats are maybe in the clubhouse, on the front line, or wherever you figure best. But to me, when I was getting my information from Dr. Vincent Hugh about the mission Juno goes to Jupiter, I was really getting some inside information about this whole Juno mission, which I hadn't heard before. Did you absorb a lot of Juno information, Jorge?
Yeah. So let's see. Juno, oh my God. There was a lot of awesome pictures he had. Dr. Vincent Hugh.
Yes.
He was talking about how hard it was to get out there in the first place, to squeeze in between the magnetic fields. It was man, most of my notes were on the audio, honestly. I'm not going to lie.
No, that's no worries. Basically, Dr. Vincent Hugh was one of our presenters that were there for our 2-day event, and he attended the 2-day event as well. Unfortunately, I found out Dr. Vincent Hugh doesn't have a lot of social media accounts, so I can't really connect with him on social media. I have, and he has spoken with me about being interviewed, so we will be organizing an interview with Dr. Vincent Hugh in the future about Juno Goes to Jupiter. His presentation about Jupiter was very interesting. Juno, a little bit similar to the Solar Parker probe. The Parker Solar Probe has a multiple orbit around the sun, with each orbit coming a little bit closer to the sun between now and 2024. Juno's space mission in Jupiter is sort of similar. It has an elongated orbit that brings it in very close to the surface of Jupiter, but at the same time carries it very far away. As Jorge said just a moment ago, Dr. Hugh was telling us about the very if not unstable, the very active, proactive regions directly around Jupiter, which include also the areas that the moons of Jupiter orbit around Jupiter. We have to consider that the magnetic field, the magnetic flux lines from Jupiter with its moons, the torus of the electric fields, considering that the moons are so close into some of the moons are so close into Jupiter that they fall within these magnetic field lines. I confirmed with the doctor, though it wasn't exactly the way I wanted it, I was able to confirm with them that the moon Io has a direct magnetic connection with Jupiter that never ceases. But in his answer, I got out of it that it's not the only one. That these moons that are close enough to Jupiter to be affected by its magnetic torus are also in these environments that make them very dangerous to spacecraft like Juno. So Juno will make a pass by Jupiter, coming very close, but then once it's past Jupiter, it's going to reach out quite a distance. It'll download and upload its data from its last pass, and it'll come back in for another pass. I think he said there's going to be 27 passes.
They were on about I forgot, on the 20-something right now, actually, how many passes they already made.
And the imagery from this, and recently there's been some really great images of Jupiter anyways. If anyone's interested in planetary astrophotography, they can go through any astrophotographer who happens to specialize in planetary items and see some fantastic images of as many planets as that astrophotographer wants to reach out. And Jupiter being the size that it is, and amateur astronomers and astrophotographers having the capability, i.e. the telescopes, to reach out and grab fantastic pictures, they've been bringing home pictures of Jupiter that are quite amazing. But these are like on a whole new level to see the color and the color of the clouds. I can only relate them to try to draw a picture in your head of how the meat of your brain, it's all squishy and squirrely and has all these, I used to make mazes, they look like a brain. You make one turn and then you make another turn, and I don't know if anybody made mazes like that, but I spent many hours when I was a youngster making brain mazes. And so, very similar to this in the structure of the clouds of Jupiter. And there was some questions that you would get at any discussion about Jupiter. Does the Great Red Spot, what is it? Why is it there? How long has it been there? Will it go away? And I can't tell you that we got a good answer.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you that there are questions today that have been asked for hundreds of years that you still don't get a good answer on. But you're going to have to accept that not good answer right now because we're still learning. And hopefully one day this mission or a mission like Juno will help us understand a little bit better about why that great red spot is the way it is. Maybe one day we'll have technology to put a probe into it, right? I mean, we must be getting close somewhere to that line where we can start inserting some technology to get a better understanding, because we're still in the dark ages of some astronomical events and occurrences and weather patterns and space weather that are in our neighborhood. You're supposed to come here, collision course, get a report about what's going on in our solar neighborhood, and I can't give you a report because we don't know everything that's going on in our solar neighborhood, even though we can see it. Something like the Great Red Spot, right? Or we can't describe it fully. Something like the octagon on the top of Saturn. Or why the sun's lack of sunspots is, currently doing what it's doing now. We can't answer those questions yet, but one, you can't be easily discouraged because some things you just don't have the answer yet. And if somebody wants to come up to us and say, well, you need to have the answer and you should have the answer, and if you don't have the answer, you're not doing your job right, or you shouldn't be doing your job, you can't, that discussion, that argument doesn't fly, because even the best scientists still have to get through tomorrow, and it may be tomorrow where they learn the most and not yesterday, right? We're not going to learn about what's going to happen, or we're not going to further our knowledge base unless we come to the table willing to absorb knowledge without bias. Okay. And even, and this was another topic, and eventually we'll get on this topic, how for my show, I really haven't had a hard time. If I go to a scientist and I want to ask them to come onto the show and talk about the things they're talking about, I don't really have a problem. And more than likely that's because I don't present them with a problem when they get on the show, right? I don't try to argue with them. I don't try to create a scenario where my beliefs are not exactly what theirs are, or their science is less than my science. You can't do that. Everybody's got their beliefs. Everybody's done their research. Everybody's ready to present their point of view. Now, in that rare occasion when somebody wants to come into a discussion and they totally have got it wrong, and whatever they're saying is being said only for presentation, and you know that it's not true, then you have to come forward and you say, okay, come on, fool. It's not real. It's not real. Let's be real. Let's be honest. That's what the show is for. And so our next event with Jorge and I is going to be at Rice University, and it is going to be a discussion from the director of NASA Space Center Houston. I think that's a great one to go to because we just were at Space Center Houston, and we may be able to share cards and contacts with the director of Space Center Houston, because it might be cool to go up there and have a gathering with some astronomy friends. We did learn when we were at the Lunar and Planetary Institute this week, they've got a library that's open to the public but isn't a public library, that had a bookshelf with free things on it, right? Yeah. And if we wanted to have a meeting that has something to do with astronomy, we could just go and use their conference room free of charge. And so we're making access available to you, the listener. Just like it was available to us, it's going to be available to you in the information that we return. So when we got done with the Lunar and Planetary Institute day, because one day was there and the next day was at Space Center Houston, we got done with all our activities. So let's tell everybody we had a lot of activities. We had to build, we had to create, it was just like a classroom. Some of the activities were just like a classroom so that you could experience exactly what you were going to make others experience. And one of them, we had to build a little lander and had 2 ping pong balls in a plastic cup. And you had to put all the pieces together so that when you dropped it down, the ping pongs didn't bounce out. And, and
a touchdown, I think they called it.
Touchdown. And the facilitators gave us an option to pull some different materials, some fuzz balls and some tongue depressors and some tape and some straws and some index cards, and we made it to the second round. Round, but we didn't win.
I didn't notice. Yeah, exactly. I didn't notice one of the landing legs had one of our cushions fell off.
Fell off. So we had an unbalanced lander. We had a lander without a leg. We had a legless lander. And one of our ping pong balls spit out. But we had a good land. We even had protective tape just in case one got squirrely and tried to get out. But that was fun. So now the event was fun like that because you got to interact with science on a different way. There was another one where we had 4 scales, and this is something I'm going to go do. I'm going to go somewhere and buy some cheap scales that you step on with the wheel that spins around. And one would be a scale that works normally, and that is representative of your weight on Earth. And then the next scale is your representative weight on Venus, and it'd be I start off at 220. I went to Venus, I was like 13, or the moon, and it was 13 pounds, or it was 30 pounds. It was a lot lighter. And then Jupiter, and then Venus or somewhere. But each weight was very different. And it was very cool because it made you think, it didn't make you think. It gave you the impression that you were actually there on a planet. If all you had to reference of where you were was what you were looking at between your toes, and in my case, the weight, that's what it felt like to me. I said, it was like, man, I feel like I'm on the moon. Man, I feel like I'm on Jupiter because I weigh 500 pounds. I better be on Jupiter if I'm going to weigh 500 pounds.
Yeah, it was eye opener to me. Perspective, like putting things in perspective was really the main thing on the first day with the different activities with the balls out when we were outside where someone was the sun, someone was the moon, someone was Mars, and we all like moved around. And then you had the astrology at the same, you had the constellations at the same time on the outer realm of that. So really, really put things into perspective, especially with that other activity we did where you have to put the sun on one side of this paper strip that's about, 3 to 4 feet long?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Pluto on the other side, and you have to say where each planet falls in between. And, it really humbles you to know how far everything really is.
So basically what we could tell the listeners is there is an activity where you take about 3 foot of tape roll, tape roll like from a at the store, cash register tape. Yeah. So you take about 3 feet of cash register tape or even 2 feet, and it's given to someone like you or me, and they say put the sun right near one side or one end, write sun in small letters, and then go on the other end of the tape and write Pluto. And they say, okay, everybody, now, from what you know about the solar system, write in where you think the planets will be. And so I put a message, I didn't let it bother me, and maybe I could have been humbled a couple more times. I just let it happen. I was wrong. So we went through, I wrote down Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, Jupiter, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Earth, Venus, Mercury. And they said, okay, now turn over your paper. Do it again. Write sun on one end in small letters and write Pluto on the other end.
Yeah, they did specify, write it in small letters.
And they said, okay, now take your tape and fold it in half and make the halfway mark. And now write in Uranus, because that is where it is representative to everything else. And I was way off. And I don't know how everybody else was. Maybe they're more solar system knowledgeable. But I was way off. And they said, okay, if you want to know where Neptune is, take the end that says sun and bring the end up to where Uranus is and fold it in half. And then write in Neptune. And then you keep on having that side. Having it, and you keep coming in. So you go, Neptune, have it, Saturn, have it, Jupiter, have it, Mars. And then you end up with like a half an inch. You end up with like a half an inch of that 3-foot tape. And they say, okay, pack it in, Earth, Venus, and Mercury. And that's the scale. Now what's going to be really cool is we're going to expand on that scale for one of my star shows. I hope I can do a lot of it for this next one coming up, but again, I may have to roll them out. But I want to do a scale thing. I want to have some balls, some different size balls, some and things that are representative of the sun. I want things that are representative of the planets, and then I want to stretch them out because I get out.
Fruit would be the best.
You think so?
I think fruit might be the best.
Yeah, so somebody eats it.
Yes, you're right.
But we'll see. We could try anything. But I want to try to figure out a good way to do it because I know now how to scale the solar system out. You just half it. I mean, you can do it.
Yeah.
You just keep having it. And so I want to do some of that. I want to do the scales. My wife's going to we got these really cool. Okay, so besides all the stuff we learned, Jupiter and water.
He was talking about Titan and Saturn, and as far as Pluto goes, they're talking about I know I'm pronouncing this wrong. Enceladus, yes. Ice volcanoes.
Yep. And that's basically. You know, what ends up happening a lot, because there is warmth in the center of these moons that are basically icy, and a lot of it is created by this pull of the gravity of the parent planet. Okay, these. So I don't know, or it could just be crushing gravity. But there's got to be some sort of dynamic to get a volcano of ice.
Yeah. I couldn't even. They had one image. I wish I can. I know I have it somewhere, but we'll have that on the link, I'm sure, with all the different websites they had given us to go to actually see these things. Like Mr. Vincent Hugh gave us the mission juno.swri.edu JunoCam website to go to.
Yeah, see, that's why they gave us so much. They gave us so many links, and the access was always available to everyone, and which is funny. People say, "Well, I don't have access. I can't get into these places," but we got a mega download of information from this 2-day event. That again, the only downside is I had to figure out how to rehash it back out. Probably what I should do is create a video, because YouTube's a great place to do that, and then just go into the description section of a video I put up and just drop everything. But then again, that doesn't do it very much justice. What you had to do is you had to take a link, create a video about what that link was, and you can imagine. But we should maybe do that. Do one a week. Yeah. Maybe we'll put it on Patreon, and you can only do it as a member. Oh, right. But we are here actually for the people. We are not behind firewalls or brick walls. We are just on the other side of your headphone wire or your television